The spear sliced through the damp air, skimming past Dorian Kale's temple with a shriek that set his nerves on fire. It struck the corrugated wall behind him, embedding deep with a splintering crack. Dorian rolled to the side, wiry muscles tense, the hunting knife clenched in his roughened hand. 2 more projectiles whistled into the space where he had crouched seconds before. Shadows slithered between the abandoned warehouses at the edge of the colony. Blue-furred predators circled with deliberate steps, elongated jaws parting to show rows of needle teeth glinting in the faint glow of Kepler's twin suns. Sweat mixed with the dust crusting his skin, a second layer that 18 months on this ruthless world had pressed into every pore. What should have been a simple scavenging run had become a fight for survival the moment these hunters caught his scent. A chittering sound rattled from his left, communication. They were more than animals. He'd seen what remained of colonists who underestimated that fact. Then, piercing the tension, came a voice, soft, fragile, nothing like the predators. "Please, can we have your leftover food?" Dorian's head snapped toward the sound. Behind a stack of rusted containers huddled 4 small figures, skin pale as starlight, their hair gleaming white even in the dimness. Their eyes, icy blue, luminous, stared at him with desperation. 3 were girls, one barely taller than the others, and at her side clung a boy, younger than all, clutching a scrap of cloth like it was the last thing he owned. The largest predator lunged in that moment, claws flashing. Dorian moved without thought, driving his knife up in a brutal arc. The blade opened the creature's throat, and black blood sprayed across the cracked concrete. The beast collapsed in shuddering spasms. The rest faltered, instincts warring against loyalty. Dorian yanked the fallen creature's spear free, gripping the shaft still warm from alien hands. 2 hunters prowled to his right, 1 to his left. The first came low, teeth bared. Dorian pivoted, thrusting the spear with all his strength. The tip punched through fur and bone, momentum carrying the body forward until it fell lifeless at his feet. The survivors hesitated, watching him with chilling intelligence. Then, as quickly as they had attacked, they melted into the shifting shadows, silent as mist. Breathing hard, Dorian scanned the perimeter, senses straining. When the night returned to stillness, he finally lowered the spear and turned back toward the children. They hadn't moved. 4 figures pressed close together, white hair framing frightened faces. The eldest girl, posture trembling yet unyielding, stepped out first. "We're sorry we disturbed you," she whispered in accented English. "We only wanted," her gaze drifted to the blood-stained corpses. Dorian studied her. She looked perhaps 9, though alien maturity was always hard to judge. Still, the quiet authority in her voice set her apart. Her siblings huddled tighter, the smallest boy's eyes wide with fear. "What are your names?" Dorian asked, his tone softer than he felt. The girl hesitated, then drew herself upright, chin lifting. "I'm Alara. This is Celine, Lyra, and my little brother Kale. Our mother, she went to find food." His expression softened, a rare crack in the weather-hardened lines of his face. "Well, Alara, I think I can help you with that. But first, we need to get away from here. These hunters may return with more." Alara translated into their flowing tongue, a melody like water sliding over stone. The other children scrambled to their feet, still wary but trusting. He led them deeper into the ghostly maze of warehouses, structures abandoned from the colony's first wave, back when humanity still dreamed of turning Kepler into a paradise. Reality had proved crueler. They found a maintenance shelter with reinforced walls and few entry points. Dorian activated a small battery lamp, its glow spilling across pale faces and pointed ears. From his pack, he produced dried meat, ration bars, and a precious bottle of purified water. The children's eyes fixed on the food with such hunger that his chest ached. "Eat slowly," he warned, passing the portions out. "Your bodies need time to adjust." Elara nodded gravely and passed on the instructions. They ate carefully, though each bite carried an intensity born of starvation. Dorian watched them, noting details, their fingers slender and long, ears tapering to fine points, their eyes almost too bright. Not human, yet not strangers either. "Where is your mother?" he asked. Elara's face clouded. "She went to the trading post 3 days ago. She was supposed to come back yesterday." The trading post. Dorian knew the place. Half market, half lawless refuge where desperate humans and aliens bartered under uneasy truces. It was also a nest of danger. The fact that she hadn't returned, troubling. "What does she look like?" he pressed. "Like us, but taller. Brown hair, scar across her cheek. Her name is Serenia." He filed the name away. Tomorrow he'd start searching. Tonight, though, the children needed shelter. As the food filled their small stomachs, exhaustion took over. The boy Kale curled against Elara's side, his breathing steady. Celine and Lyra fought against sleep, but soon their pale lashes fluttered closed. "You can sleep here tonight," Dorian said. Elara looked at him with startlingly clear eyes. "Why are you helping us?" "The other humans, they fear us." "Because you asked politely," he said simply. "And because you're children." She seemed to weigh this answer, then drew her siblings close. Within minutes they were asleep, faces serene in the lamplight.
Dorian settled by the doorway, knife within reach. Through a crack in the wall he could see the alien constellations above. 2 years since the crash of the colony ship, 2 years of scraping survival from hostile ground. Humanity had endured through grit and necessity. But these children, different, vulnerable, posed questions no colony council wanted to answer. He should have reported them. Instead, he sat listening to their soft breaths, and made himself their guard through the long alien night. Dawn on Kepler came slow, twin suns casting strange, layered shadows. The children stirred, stretching like any human youngsters might. Elara was first awake, eyes finding him instantly. "Did you sleep at all?" she asked. "Enough." He handed out more rations. "We need to talk about what comes next." She lowered her gaze. "We'll leave after we eat. We don't want to cause you trouble." "That's not what I meant." He leaned forward, voice firm but kind. "Your mother is missing. Winter is coming. Predators are bold. You need shelter." Her lips tightened, dignity clashing with fear. "We've survived before. We'll find a way." "Not out there," he said, gesturing toward the wasteland beyond. "Stay with me. At least until we find your mother." Elara studied him, hope flickering in her guarded eyes. She translated, and her siblings brightened with cautious relief. Celine clapped her hands softly. Lyra smiled, showing small, sharp teeth adapted for omnivorous meals. Kale pressed closer to his sister, trust unshaken. "We accept," Elara said. "But if we become too much trouble, we'll leave." Dorian nodded. He understood pride. He also knew what they hadn't admitted, that without help, they wouldn't last. The walk back to the colony took nearly an hour, weaving through storage yards and weathered prefab structures. The air smelled faintly metallic, always carrying the tang of Kepler's mineral-rich soil. Dorian Kale kept his pace steady, the children trailing close. Their white hair caught the pale morning light, and every colonist they passed stared. Some froze, tools clutched mid-task, while others whispered from behind half-closed doors. The first person to confront them was Dr. Mariel Avon, an agricultural specialist with dirt-streaked hands from tending her modified crop beds. Her eyes flicked from Dorian to the four children, pupils narrowing with unease. Her hand drifted instinctively toward the blade at her belt. "Dorian," she said carefully. "What are you doing?" "Taking care of children," he answered evenly. "Their mother is missing." Mariel's gaze lingered on Alara, who met her stare with quiet defiance. "We don't wish to cause trouble," Alara said softly, her accent clear but her tone dignified. "We only ask for safety." The woman blinked, startled that the girl spoke such fluent English. Her eyes softened, if only slightly. "Children are children," she murmured, more to herself than to him. "I'll bring you some vegetables later. They'll need more than dried rations." Dorian inclined his head. "Thank you." Word spread faster than wildfire. By the time they reached his small habitat, colonists were already watching from doorways and windows, their faces a spectrum: fear, hostility, curiosity. The habitat itself was modest, a single main room with alcoves for sleeping, a narrow cooking corner, a storage wall for tools and supplies. It was never meant for 5, yet it would have to do. The children moved through it with reverence, their pointed ears twitching as they touched woven blankets and examined battery lanterns. Lyra lingered over a handheld scanner, fascinated by the hum. Celine traced the weave of fabric as though it were a treasure. Even little Kale poked his nose into a water purifier, giggling when it beeped. Dorian let them explore, but when they finally gathered, he spoke firmly. "There are rules. First, no leaving without me. Second, answer questions politely, but don't explain where you came from. Third, if there's danger, you come straight to me." Alara nodded gravely. "We understand. We know how to be careful." Before he could ask what she meant, a knock rattled the door. Dorian's hand went to his knife. He opened the door to find Captain Veyron, the colony's sheriff and reluctant enforcer. A broad man with weather-beaten features, Veyron carried authority like armor. His eyes immediately settled on the children. "Word travels quickly," Veyron said. "People are asking questions." "What kind of questions?" Dorian asked. "The practical kind. Food. Security. Law." The captain's gaze sharpened. "They're not pets, Kale. They're sapient. Their presence here has consequences." "Their mother is missing," Dorian replied. "They needed help. And you made that decision for the whole colony." Veyron's jaw tightened. "We're barely surviving. For more mouths, especially alien ones, complicate everything. I'll share my rations." "For how long?" "Winter's coming." Alara stepped forward before Dorian could respond. Her voice, though young, carried remarkable clarity. "Captain Veyron, we don't want to be a burden. If our presence threatens your people, we'll leave." The sheriff blinked at her directness. "You speak well. Our mother taught us. She believed humans and our kind must understand each other." "And where is she now?" "We don't know. She went to the trading post and never returned." Veyron sighed. "I'll make inquiries. But this has to go before the council. Tonight." He turned, pausing at the door. "For what it's worth, Kale. I think you did the right thing. But right and smart aren't always the same." When he left, silence pressed heavy. The children had understood enough, their future was uncertain. Celine's small voice broke it, "Will they send us away?" "Not if I can help it," Dorian promised, though doubt gnawed at him. The day dragged. The children helped tidy the cramped space, their quiet efficiency almost unsettling. Alara organized supplies. Lyra and Celine took turns peering through the window, watching colonists pass. Kale shadowed his sisters, wide-eyed at every gadget. Dorian found himself studying them, graceful, intelligent, fragile. Too fragile for this world. When evening came, he prepared to leave for the council meeting. Elara startled him by saying, "We want to come." "That's not wise," he said. "They are deciding our fate. Shouldn't we speak?" Her logic was sound. Dorian hesitated, then nodded. "Stay close. Be ready for harsh words." The community center overflowed with colonists. Chairman Oren Vale presided with precise authority, his lean frame radiating control. The moment Elara stepped in beside Dorian, murmurs rippled through the crowd, shock, curiosity, suspicion. Vale raised his hand. "We are here to discuss 4 alien children residing with Dorian Kale. Questions must be answered: resources, safety, precedent." Cassira Dorn, a senior engineer with fire in her eyes, spoke first. "We can't afford this. Food supplies are already strained. 4 more could mean starvation." Dr. Mariel Avon countered sharply. "They're children. Hungry children. Are we the kind who let them starve?" Dr. Thalen Rhine, the medical officer, interjected. "We know nothing of their biology. They could carry pathogens. They could be dangerous." The debate raged, voices clashing. Some demanded expulsion, others demanded compassion. Dorian stayed silent until Vale turned to the children. "Do you wish to say anything?" Elara stepped forward, back straight, her luminous eyes sweeping the room. "Honored Council. I am Elara. These are my sisters Celine and Lyra, and my brother Kale. Our mother is Serenia. She taught us that all beings share the same needs: food, shelter, safety, dignity." The room stilled. "We don't want to burden you. But we are children, alone. We asked for help because we had nowhere else to go. Dorian showed us kindness when others might have turned us away. We wish to repay that kindness by helping your people." Vale leaned forward. "How could you contribute?" "I speak 3 languages. Celine can repair machines. Lyra understands plants. Kale is small, but he learns quickly." Murmurs rippled again, this time tinged with surprise. Captain Varen broke the silence. "Their mother is missing. That alone demands investigation. But until then, what do we do with them?" "We help them," Mariel said firmly. "We can't risk it," Cassira snapped. The debate stretched for hours, tearing the colony down its middle. Finally Vale called the vote. 15 in favor of letting the children remain provisionally. 12 against. 3 abstained. "The motion carries," Vale declared. "They may stay, subject to review in 30 days, or when their mother is found." Elara bowed formally. "Thank you. We will not forget." Leaving the meeting, Dorian noted the looks from colonists, some warm, some cold, many conflicted. He felt the weight of their decision pressing like the cold of approaching winter. "What if they never find our mother?" Elara asked softly. "We'll face that if it comes," Dorian answered. But deep down, he feared the answer. The days that followed were uneasy. The children settled into Dorian's modest habitat, their presence stirring whispers across the settlement. Though the council had granted them provisional status, suspicion lingered. Some colonists offered small kindnesses: food scraps, old clothes, spare tools. Others turned away or muttered curses under their breath. Elara, however, wasted no time proving her worth. She translated when alien traders came to the colony's edge, her voice bridging gaps that often turned to conflict. Celine displayed remarkable aptitude for machinery, coaxing life back into a faulty irrigation pump that had frustrated engineers for weeks. Lyra wandered through the agricultural fields, her pale fingers brushing leaves as if listening. She pointed out signs of crop disease, her observations so precise even Dr. Avon admitted she was gifted. And little Kale, though too young for labor, became a cheerful shadow, carrying tools, fetching water, or simply offering laughter when work grew heavy. Still, Cassira Dorn's voice carried weight. She whispered that the children were spies, sent to infiltrate and soften the colony. Her followers repeated her accusations: food theft, tampering with supplies, strange signals beyond the perimeter. None of it had proof, but fear rarely needed evidence. 6 days after the council vote, tension snapped. Dorian was in the workshop when Alara burst in, her pale face tight with alarm. "Dorian, come quickly. Trouble at the habitat." He followed her at a run. Outside his dwelling, a crowd had gathered, 2 groups squared off, words sharp as knives. Captain Varen tried to hold order, but the air throbbed with hostility. On one side, Mariel Avon and others who had defended the children. On the other, Cassira and her supporters, eyes blazing. "Where are they?" Dorian asked Alara. "Inside, door locked. Celine's keeping the others calm." He pushed through to Varen. "What's happening?" "They want the children expelled immediately," Varen said grimly. "Claims of theft, sabotage, secret communication. Nothing solid." "They're lies," Dorian snapped. Cassira stepped forward, her voice carrying. "Convenient, isn't it? For strangers show up just as resources run thin. They speak our tongue perfectly, they know how to appeal to our pity. They are not children, they are infiltrators." Alara stepped from behind Dorian before he could stop her. Her chin lifted. "Our mother taught us your language. She believed we could live together, if we tried to understand. She is missing because of your trading post. Sheriff Varen was supposed to find her." All eyes turned to the captain. His jaw tightened. "I sent scouts. They found evidence of Serena's presence, but no sign of her now. Traders said she left with a human man toward the Eastern Territories." Alara's face blanched. "She would never leave us." "Unless she was forced," Mariel said grimly. The crowd muttered. Fear, suspicion, grief, they mixed until no line separated truth from rumor. Cassira pressed harder. "Even more reason to send them away. They don't belong here. Every resource we give them is stolen from human mouths." "They are children," Dorian said, voice iron. "They are aliens," Cassira shot back. "Unknown. Dangerous. Every calorie matters." The arguments rose like storm winds, voices colliding. Dorian stepped before the habitat door, refusing to yield ground. "We are not animals tearing each other apart," he barked. "We are a colony. We survive by principles, not panic." "Principles don't feed us in winter," Cassira sneered. "Principles don't stop diseases or spies." Then Alara stepped beside him, her small frame steady against the crowd. "If you want us to leave, we will. But don't let fear turn you into something you'll regret." Her words hushed some, though Cassira's face remained stone. "Fine. Emergency council session. Now." An hour later, nearly every colonist crowded into the community center. The air was thick with tension, hotter than the alien suns. Chairman Vale struggled to keep order as accusations and counterarguments flew. Dr. Ryan warned of biological risks. Mariel defended the children's contributions. Dorian spoke little, letting actions speak for themselves. Finally, Vale called the vote. This time, the outcome was brutal. 22 for expulsion, 8 against. No abstentions. Alara stood slowly, her siblings clustering close. "Thank you for what kindness you gave. We will leave at dawn." But before Vale could reply, the lights died. Red emergency glow bathed the room. Shouts echoed outside. Varen rushed to the door, hand on his weapon. A deputy stumbled in, face streaked with blood. "Perimeter breached, unknown hostiles, at least 50 strong. Coordinated. Armed. The room erupted in panic. Vale demanded numbers. 15, maybe 20 minutes before they hit the main settlement. Elara tugged Dorian's sleeve, eyes wide. "Those aren't our people," she whispered. "The weapons, the signals, it's the Zarathan. Nomads from the northern wastes. They raid for slaves." Varen overheard, his gaze sharp. "You know them?" She nodded. "They strike hard, fast. Break their formation, and they'll scatter. Or this is part of your plan," Cassira spat. "You brought them here." "If the colony falls, we die too," Elara replied calmly. "We want to help." The sounds of splintering wood and distant screams left no time for argument. Varen made a snap decision. "Kale, take the children to the maintenance facility. Use their knowledge. Keep them safe." They raced across the settlement, the night alive with chaos. From the facility's windows, Dorian saw the Zarathan advancing, tall, mottled green-brown figures moving in tight formation, weapons of alien metal gleaming. At their center loomed a war leader, spear adorned with bone and feather, bellowing commands that rippled like waves through the ranks. "There," Elara said, pointing. "If he falls, the rest break." "But he's too well guarded," Dorian muttered. Celine's fingers danced across power conduits. "If I reroute the grid, I can overload the outer lights, blind them for a moment." Lyra leaned closer to the comm system. "Their formation depends on sound. If we flood the air with noise, their signals fail." Kale clutched the window frame, eyes fixed. "I'll watch the leader. Tell you when he signals." Dorian stared at them, marveling. They were children, yet in this moment they worked like a seasoned unit. The overload came first, a burst of light that seared the battlefield white. Zarathan staggered, blinking, breaking stride. Then the speakers roared to life, a cacophony of alarms, static, and Elara's clear voice calling false orders in their guttural tongue. Confusion erupted. The war leader's shouts were lost in the noise. Fighters stumbled, some breaking formation, others retreating blindly. Within minutes, the assault crumbled. Panic spread through the raiders until the disciplined ranks dissolved into a fleeing mob, vanishing into the dark wastes. Silence fell, broken only by ragged breaths. Varen's voice crackled over comms, hostiles retreating. "Hold positions." Dorian turned to the children. Their pale faces glowed in the dim light, eyes wide but steady. They had saved the colony that had voted to cast them out. For the first time since he'd met them, Dorian Kale felt something shift deep inside. These weren't burdens. They weren't threats. They were family. The hours after the raid blurred into exhaustion and disbelief. The colonists had braced themselves for massacre, yet dawn revealed only minor wounds, some shattered buildings, and shaken nerves. Against all odds, the settlement still stood. Chairman Oren Vale arrived at the maintenance facility just as the first rays of twin suns lit the scorched horizon. His shoulders sagged from a night of chaos, but his eyes fell first on Elara and her siblings. "I understand we owe you gratitude," he said stiffly. Elara inclined her head, voice even. "We were glad to help. It is what neighbors do." The word neighbors seemed to cut deeper than any blade. Vale faltered, as though forced to consider what it meant. The children had been the colony's enemies hours ago, now they were its saviors. That afternoon, the council reconvened. This time, the room carried not hostility but shame. Colonists who had shouted for exile now sat silent, glancing uneasily at the children seated beside Dorian. Cassira Dorn rose, her voice taut. "Fear clouded my judgment. These children risked their lives for us, and I was wrong. I move that they be granted permanent residency, with full rights." Dr. Thalen Rhine seconded it without hesitation. The vote was unanimous. Elara bowed. "Thank you. We will not forget." Yet beneath the triumph lay unfinished pain. Serenia, their mother, was still missing. 3 days later, Captain Varen arrived at Dorian's habitat, face grim. "We found her," he said without preamble. "Alive, but in chains. Slave camp in the Eastern Territories, run by a man named Varric Droz. He's been there since the day she disappeared." Elara went pale. "Then we must go." "No," Dorian said immediately. "Too dangerous. Raiders, mercenaries." "She is my mother," Elara cut in, her small body trembling with fierce resolve. "I know her. I can identify her when you cannot. You need me." Dorian wanted to refuse, every instinct screaming to shield her. But when he looked into her eyes, blue, bright with the same unyielding spark as her mother, he realized she was right. Even so, he shook his head. "Not this time. You protect your siblings. I'll bring her home." Preparations took 2 days. Varen assembled a team of 6 volunteers, hard-eyed men and women who understood the risks. They traveled under cover of night, moving across jagged ridges and frozen riverbeds until the camp came into view, a pit of despair. Dozens of slaves, humans and aliens alike, labored under armed guards. Makeshift shelters sagged in the wind. "There," Varen whispered, pointing to a frail figure at the camp's edge. Pale skin dulled by hunger, brown hair tangled, scar across her cheek. "Serenia." Dorian's chest tightened. She moved carefully, each step pained, but her eyes still burned with defiance. He crept forward, slipping through shadows until her gaze met his. Recognition flared, followed by desperate hope. "My children," she whispered. "Safe," he answered, cutting her restraints. "Elara, Celine, Lyra, Kale, they're waiting." Relief broke across her face, tears cutting tracks through grime. "Take me to them." The escape began well, the team dismantling guards with practiced precision. But Varric Droz's men rallied faster than expected. Crossbow bolts hissed through the air, steel clashed on steel. Varen took a bolt in the shoulder. Another fighter staggered under a blade slash. "We won't make the rendezvous," Dorian growled. "Here." Serenia pulled him toward what looked like solid rock. Her hands pressed against an ancient seam, revealing a hidden path. "My people used these caves for generations." They slipped into the darkness, the labyrinth winding beneath the hills. Guided by Serenia's sure steps, the wounded stumbled through until they emerged miles away, far beyond pursuit. The journey home was slower, Varen grim but alive, the others battered but breathing. As they crested the last rise, 4 small figures ran to meet them. Elara's cry split the air, her siblings tumbling forward, white hair streaming like banners in the sun. The reunion was raw, tears, laughter, clinging hands, words tumbling in their musical tongue. When Serenia finally faced the colony, she did so with quiet dignity. "Thank you," she said in careful English, her voice hoarse yet steady. "For keeping my children alive when I could not. Your kindness will not be forgotten." Vale stepped forward, but Elara spoke first, telling her mother of the Zarathan raid, of how they had saved the settlement that once voted to banish them. Serenia's eyes glistened with pride. "You fought for those who rejected you." "They are our neighbors," Elara replied simply. "It's what you taught us." Life shifted after that. Serenia's knowledge of the land proved invaluable. She guided expeditions through hostile terrain, identified edible flora, and negotiated tentative truces with other alien groups. Elara continued to bridge cultures, her gift for languages opening doors. Celine apprenticed with engineers, her small hands coaxing stubborn machines into motion. Lyra thrived among crops, her insights raising yields. Even Kale found work as he grew, carrying tools with boundless energy. But the true change lay in the colony itself. Where once suspicion ruled, gratitude softened edges. The children played with human peers in the square. Families shared meals. Fear gave way to something new, community. One evening, as dusk painted the sky violet, Dorian sat on a bench watching the children laugh. Mariel Avon joined him. "You ever think about what would have happened if you'd walked away that night?" she asked. "I try not to," he admitted. "But maybe everything changed because I didn't." She smiled faintly. "Change isn't always bad." Elara came bounding across the square, hair gleaming silver in fading light. "Mother says you're to join us for dinner. She's cooking the stew you like." Dorian smiled, warmth stirring where once only weariness had lived. "I'll be there." As she ran back, Mariel said softly, "She calls you Dorian now. Not Kale." "Feels right," he murmured. "Feels like family." The word lingered as Serenia emerged from their shared habitat, scarred face radiant with contentment. For the first time in years, Dorian Kale felt whole, not because of survival, but because of choice. He had chosen them, and in turn, they had chosen him. The suns dipped low, shadows stretching long, and the harsh world seemed almost kind. The family he never expected was beside him, bound not by blood, but by compassion, resilience, and the refusal to let fear decide their fate. That night, as he lay in the once empty habitat now filled with voices and warmth, he heard Elara telling a story in her native tongue. The words rose like music, tales of courage, kindness, and the fragile hope of strangers who became family. Tomorrow would bring new dangers, life on Kepler always did. But tonight, for the first time since the crash, Dorian Kale slept in peace. And that, friends, is how 4 pale-haired children with pointed ears, 3 girls and their little brother, turned from strangers in the dark to the very heart of a colony's survival. What began as fear and division transformed into something far stronger: unity, trust, and chosen family. Dorian Kale thought he was only offering scraps of food and a night's protection. Instead, he found a home and a purpose. The children, Elara, Celine, Lyra, and Kale, were once burdens in the eyes of many, yet they proved themselves through courage, wisdom, and loyalty. And Serenia, their mother, showed the colony that compassion was not weakness but strength. The people of Kepler learned that survival isn't just about hoarding rations or fighting off predators. It's about who you stand beside when the shadows close in. It's about whether you let fear define you, or whether you choose to believe in each other. And isn't that the real heart of every frontier story? Not the danger, not the scarcity, but the chance to build something new together, even when the odds scream otherwise. If you enjoyed this story, don't just leave it here. Think about what it means in our world. Think about the strangers we encounter, the fears we carry, and the choices we make when kindness feels like risk. Sometimes, the simplest decisions, the ones made in the blink of an eye, can change everything. If you'd like to see more stories like this, more tales where compassion reshapes whole worlds, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button if this story moved you, and share it with someone who could use a reminder that even in the darkest places, humanity, whether human or alien, shines brightest through kindness.